Husband risked his life to save mine 2 years ago. How can I ever repay him? I am not the OOP. OOP is you, brave awareness 525. Husband risked his life to save mine 2 years ago. How can I ever repay him? Originally posted to r, true off my chest plus r, marriage and r, advice. Trigger warning. Grievous injury. Less than. Original post April 22, 2022. Originally posted to r, true off my chest. So this actually happened exactly 1 year 11 months ago. My friends and family all know about this, but I just needed to get this off my chest, and I do need some advice on how to repay him, so to speak. So it was Friday date night. My husband and I were walking back to the car 11 p.m. from an extremely crowded restaurant or bar. He realized he had left his expensive leather jacket at the restaurant. So he told me to just walk to the car and he'll catch up. So I did. Suddenly a black car came speeding by, way past the speed limit. Drunk driver. I screamed since I thought the car would hit me. I landed with a thud, and right above my husband, who lay motionless on the asphalt. Once I realized what had happened, I shook my husband over and over again. To no avail. I screamed and cried hysterically, "Somebody help me." And thankfully people came to help. One man gave me his phone to call the ambulance. Both mine and my husband's were dead from the impact. I just kept shaking and crying. I must have been a pain in the ass. While another woman just hugged and comforted me. The ambulance arrived quickly and took both of us to the hospital. The doctors told me he wasn't dead, but he's in a coma due to traumatic head injury. My heart sank when they told me this. And that week was the worst, most miserable week of my life. I couldn't eat, sleep, or think straight without feeling suicidal. Luckily, after a week, he woke up. The doctors called me in to see him, and told me he'd have some minor memory loss but nothing to worry about. He is quite forgetful nowadays. I was speechless for a few seconds. And then I hugged him as tight as possible while bawling into his chest. I wouldn't let him go, and I held him and cried and told him how sorry I was for a good 40 minutes. He consoled me and told me that none of this was my fault. But I still think it was. Fuck. I love my husband so much. I really don't know how to repay him for literally saving my life. Whenever I think about it, I tear up. How can I ever make it up to him? I owe him my life. I've done a few things to try and be the best wife I can be. I cook him his favorite meals. I take him out on date nights and insist on paying for his meals. I try to do as many chores as I can, unless he insists on doing them. I try to give him tons of affection. I give him hugs and kisses and "I love yous," and I tell him he's my hero pretty much every day. In the bedroom, he's an extremely selfless lover, which I do want to change, since I want to be able to please him too. TMI, but recently I've been putting him to sleep with a blowjob whenever he feels too tired to have sex. And I try to give them to him every day, multiple times a day if possible. We both work full-time jobs. His 33rd birthday was yesterday. So I made him a purely handmade card with a pop-up elephant when you open it. His favorite animal is elephants. And written on it were 33 reasons I love my husband. And I took him to the Griffith Observatory, his favorite place. But I feel like I'm not doing enough for him. Like affection, intimacy, activities and date nights are a normal part of any marriage. I want to be a better wife for him. I know marriages are not transactional, but I still want to repay him for literally saving my life. Whenever I ask him, he laughs and says you don't have to repay me. But I want to. How can I ever repay him? TLDR. Husband tackled me to the ground to save me from a speeding car and suffered a 1-week coma because of it 2 years ago. I want to make it up to him, but how? P.S. Actually, whenever someone mentions my husband, This is the first thing I tell them about him. And it actually makes for a great conversation starter. I love bragging about him, haha. Relevant comments. Corked coffee mug. So was it the tackle that he hurt his head, or did a car actually hit him? Oop replied, it was the impact of the landing, not the car. IDGITOFDS truction. First thing, not your fault. It was the attempted murderer in the car. Did they catch the guy? It sounds like you are showing your appreciation. Don't do those things out of guilt. He saved you because he loves you. So just do those things because of your obvious love. Oop replied, yes. The guy was charged and arrested for drunk driving. He didn't actually hit my husband, but the impact from the tackle caused my husband's injuries. Update April 25, 2022. Originally posted to our marriage. Thank you so much to everyone who replied. I read every response and the advice was much appreciated. You guys were right, there is some underlying trauma from the situation that we hadn't previously addressed, especially concerning my husband's 1-week coma, which had scared the living hell out of me. We visited a local therapist yesterday who helped us process the trauma and explain why I feel the need to repay him. I do have some form of survivor's guilt and feel as if my husband's coma was my fault. My husband reassured me that he doesn't have any trauma from the situation himself, since the coma just felt like a nap to him. As for the need to repay him, I still do give hubby some perks here and there, if you know what I mean. Hee winking face. But overall I'm in a much better place mentally and emotionally. I still do tear up a little when thinking about how close I was to losing him, or how he risked his life just for me. But I think that's a good thing. It gives me an incentive to improve myself every day and in every way possible. Because my hubs deserves the best wife on the planet. Once again, I cannot thank you guys enough for your advice. It is much appreciated. Relevant comments. Inevitable Concept 36. I am very happy for both of you. You both sound amazing and very lucky to have each other. Now this may be something that you already do, or heck, it may not even be necessary. But the best thing my wife did for me when I was in a coma for like 5 days, long story, was to fill in the gaps of what actually happened during and around that time. That's been like 5 years now, and it's fleeting for sure. But there are some times where I remember not remembering anything around that time. If that makes sense. It's supremely reassuring when she fills in that gap with facts about that time period. The facts aren't exactly pretty, but it sure sets my mind at ease more so than just not being able to recall. Oop replied, okay, I will make sure to do this for him. Thank you so much for the advice. The husband makes a post. My 33 meters wife, 33F, has become shy and clingy after I saved her life 2 years ago. I'm worried for her mental health. July 18, 2022. Hey all, this is my husband's post. His account was shadow banned and IDEC. I didn't even know of that word, loudly crying. But he asked me if he could post it here. He really wants advice, so I'll just copy and paste. Hi all. So this is my first Reddit account, and my beautiful wife, whose account is You Brave Awareness 525, encouraged me to post on Reddit, since I need to get this all off my chest. So basically, we were walking back home pretty late from a date night and I forgot my leather jacket at the pretty crowded restaurant. So I told her to walk back to the car while I find the jacket. And a drunk driver came speeding by, almost hitting her, but I tackled her to the ground and out of harm's way. IDK. It was pretty much just an instinctive reaction. After that, I don't remember a single thing other than waking up at the hospital a week later. I'd apparently been in a coma for a whole week. When I met my wife, she literally clung onto me for a good 3,040 minutes and just bawled into my chest. She kept trying to apologize, but I didn't let her. And I don't know why, but ever since this incident she's always been super shy and sweet with me, yet super clingy at the same time. She's always wanting to do whatever I'm doing, always asking for hugs and kisses, always asking me if I love her, if I think she's pretty enough, etc. And it seems as if she's always trying to please me in one way or another. I was rewatching the original Spider-Man series with her yesterday, and I would honestly describe my wife like the character Ursula, the shy girl who's always making cookies and cake for Peter and has a huge secret crush on him. She's extremely shy and awkward and giggly with me, just like how Ursula was with Peter. It seems like her biggest fear is that she'll disappoint or annoy me or something. She's always wanting my validation in some way or another. She cooks and bakes for me, doesn't let me do that many chores even when I insist. We both work full-time. She always makes me my favorite foods and desserts, serves them to me, etc. In the bedroom, she's become very selfless as well. TMI, but every weekend, she wakes me up with a long, slow blowjob and finishes by riding my dick. She tries to suck me off every single day. She's constantly focusing on my pleasure, what to do to make me come harder and faster than ever. Always asking me about my fantasies, fetishes, etc. I see her stare at me too sometimes, especially when we're watching TV, and she'll look away all embarrassed when I look at her. She tries to get into things too, just because I'm interested in them. I've lifted weights and done martial arts my whole life, and now she wants to learn and do both those activities with me. I'm not sure if she actually does or if she's just doing that 'cause I'm interested in those things. Bekwa say before 2 years ago, she couldn't care less about these hobbies of mine. She was always instead interested in playing volleyball and softball with her girlfriends. I'm not saying I don't appreciate her doing all this for me. I definitely do, and I love that woman to death. But it seems like she's doing too much for me and it's affecting her mental health. She always thinks she's not pretty enough for me, that she's not a good enough wife, etc. She's always saying she owes me her life, and always asking how she can make it up to me for saving her life. I always tell her she doesn't owe me anything and she should stop doing so much. It falls on deaf ears usually. Yesterday, in the middle of the night, I woke up to her quietly sobbing with her back turned towards me. I kissed and cuddled her and asked her what's wrong. She told me she had a terrible dream where I never woke up from the coma. I comforted and reassured her that I'm here and it's okay. But she still kept crying uncontrollably. In the morning, she was her normal shy, awkward, giggly self. Asked me what I wanted for breakfast, and is acting like nothing happened. I feel terrible for her. We've been going to a marriage counselor together and it seems to be helping. She has a lot of trauma from the situation which she talks about during the sessions. But still, she's never as relaxed or chill as she once was. She's always very tense. And like I said, doing everything to please me. Why is she like this? And how could I help her? TL. Doctor. 2 years ago, I saved my wife's life. Wife is now shy and awkward with me, yet clingy at the same time, and constantly doing things to please me. I think it's affecting her mental health. Relevant comments from Oop. Thank you. And yes, I encouraged her to go out with her girlfriends. She's gonna play softball with them at the park and afterwards they'll just go to a restaurant. She hasn't hung out with them in a long time. She usually seems more excited to go out with me nowadays, tbh. And yes, a spa appointment is a great idea, but she always stops me when I try to massage her, since she doesn't want to be a burden to me. So I DK how she'd agree to a. This is a repost sub. I am not the Oop. This is very obviously all written by the same person. I can get past everything else. But the detailed and fixated points about sex make all of this seem very off. It's more like bragging. Why would they think we need detailed descriptions of their sex lives? I'm sorry, I didn't realize I wandered into our multi-part creative writing. There is way too much focus on sex here for me to think for 1 second it is real. We were leaving crowded restaurant. I nod. At the end of March 2020. I frown. Luckily nothing else was going on at the time, so she could just chill out in the hospital in March 2020 waiting for Hubs to wake up so she could weep on him. No prob. And now it's been 2 beautiful years since the year of our Lord 2020 in which no notable events have impacted his recovery, their relationship, or her non-stop gratitude blowies. Incredible. No notes. Husband's POV straight up confirmed my doubts. They're recounting events exactly the same, and his recount of the night actually made me laugh. Like no effort went into that whatsoever. This feels like the same person writing when they said TMI but and then talked about their sex life. IDK. I don't normally want to be suspicious because real life is incredible sometimes, but IDK. This feels like one person. I was in a medically induced coma after a TBI. I woke up to my so looking like death. He looked so much worse than I did, and I had a broken body.
Vacant.
Well, this would be a decent subplot in a telenovela or soap opera. I feel as though the husband needs a secret twin. Though. This is the more advanced adult scripts that you just can't get anywhere else. Love the fantasies, such a heroic, strong, deserving man, and what a shy, submissive, awkward and giggly woman he has. In addition to the total BS unnecessary details about sex, this teenager also throws in yet more unnecessary details about the leather jacket and the crowded restaurant. What did those two have to do with the tackle? Chances of 2 people describing the same incident focusing on those particular details are basically 0. And the rest is obvious BS too. The update a mere 3 days later after having gone to a counselor already. Yeah right. Who immediately immensely helped. I still don't understand the setup. He told her to walk to the car without him, turned around and presumably started walking in the other direction to get his jacket, but yet miraculously made it back in time to tackle his wife from a quickly moving oncoming car she didn't see or hear. Op is sucking his own dick. This is very poorly written. Obviously it's the same person writing it. But did he get his leather jacket back? This just happened in Houston earlier this morning. But it was a first date and the man was hit and killed by a drunk driver while walking on the sidewalk. If this story is true, she has no idea how incredibly lucky she is. https abc13.com/Westheimer deadly crash outside Voodoo Donut Shop Montreux speeding car hits pedestrian /131544141/ Hate to admit this, but I would actually hate multiple BJs per day. Sure, they are great and all, but several times a day? Give me some space, lol. I dunno, feels like the same person wrote both husband's and wife's posts. I lost my husband a couple years ago. I would gladly have had a concussion and a week of coma to save him. And I wouldn't have felt like he owed me anything. I would just be glad he is alive. I hope the wife can calm down and accept that her husband loves her and each can be happy that the other is still alive.
If you enjoyed this video, please check out our playlists full of similar content. Epic Ericast is like doom scrolling for your ears. Please like, share, and subscribe.